All right. Welcome to We Are Something Else presents Smoque and Spiel, the movie and music review podcast. That's part of the many things that we got going on this brand. Tonight we will be reviewing, as you can see in the background, Beat Street. Now, a lot of y'all probably don't know what this movie's about, but hopefully that's why we do these shows, so we could talk some points, talk some relatable moments, and maybe you may go out and watch this movie. Now, we do give some spoilers away because this movie was back in 1984, and at this point, what is so? I got my man E. Rich right here, and tonight we got our special guest. He's been waiting for this one. We got Mr. Kevin Ghee. Come on in, man. Welcome. Now, y'all may remember Kevin from the Black Business series. We talked about being a writer and director. We had a really great conversation. Then he came back in on 200th episode to shout us out. But now he's back for Smoque and Spiel because, look, we've been all waiting to do this Beat Street one. So here we are. Kev, welcome, man. We finally here. Oh, you're on mute, bro.
Yes, sir. We are here. Thank you for having me. We've been waiting. I've been waiting. It's been like a year. We've been waiting to do it.
It's been a long time coming for this one. And we wanted to get it right.
Yeah, and I was so hyped to do this because
it's good to see you.
I lived this. This was my era. This was, I grew up in this. We all came up together. So this movie was like the soundtrack to the youth. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
It was incredible, bro. It was an incredible moment.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, so before we get into all the synopsis of the movie, I remember this being one of the first movies that kind of influenced me I remember breakdancing in my grandparents' basement and wearing my hat to the side because I wanted to be Lee, right? And then I remember around the same time was the Walk This Way video with the laceless shell toe. I mean, all that. Like that was like kind of what was influencing a little young Kaleo back in the day. Yeah. E, what about you? Any relatable moments for Beat Street?
For sure. Like I was telling Kev before we kind of jumped on, was like I remember my cousin like he studied this movie, right? So that he could know all like everything to say, like, whether it was, moments where they were talking to the females, like it was just a way of kind of creating himself, or like being like, that's something that you see on the big screen, but like in his time and at that age, like that was the influence, right? And then we had VCRs back then, right? So it was like stop and rewind, so you could learn the actual movement. And like he would be in front of that TV, bro. You could not move him away from that and then he would want to show you what he learned from it. So this culturally was one of those things where, when you see a family member or like an older cousin that's influenced, it makes you want to go look at it and see what it's about. So it kind of groomed me to figure out, well, what is this all about? So for sure.
The Adidas sweatsuits?
What's that?
The Adidas sweatsuits or just the Kango?
Listen, so let me tell you why it was so impactful to your cousin. Because before that, we had nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Dig me? We had nothing that represented the culture. We had it was not us. The music didn't represent the culture. Now, I mean, you had your Stevies, you had your soul blues, but for the youth, we had nothing. We had Soul Sonic Force. You know what I'm saying? We had Sugar Hill Gang 79. That, you know what I'm saying? It was still disco. It was still party. Then 82, 83 Wild Style hit. Now I'm gonna tell you, while Beat Street is a very important and influential movie, Wild Style is
that's the one.
If you want to know anything about the birth of hip hop culture, Wild Style is the movie.
Okay.
This here is more Hollywood. It got a little fancy with it, but the story was dope. The idea of it all was amazing, and the other impact it had, it made us dreamers. Like, yo, we could be on a movie. We could actually do a movie. You know what I'm saying? Because Spike didn't hit yet.
No,
so
it wasn't. Yeah,
we saw this and it was like, It was so out of control, bro. And I'm gonna tell y'all, it was for me. Last day of school, June 8th, I'll never forget, June 8th, 1984. Last day of school. We weren't supposed to get out of school until like 1 o'clock, I think. But the movie started at 11:30. And everybody in my class was like, yo, we gonna troop down to 16th Street and we gonna hit the movie theater. It started at 11:30. So we made sure everybody got to class, got the homework. This is the last day of school. What y'all trying to do? But we were in Catholic school, so they weren't really they structured, so they weren't really trying to let us leave early. Man, they turned their head once, we bailed. We all bailed out the door, out the emergency exit.
There you go.
Off. Hit this movie theater, bro, and just the scratching as the Orion sign going, yeah, it was over. It was over. We was glued to that screen for the next hour and a half, 40 minutes. It was epic. It was so epic.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's get into it.
Yes.
Beat Street, 1984 American dance drama film featuring New York City hip hop culture. Again, like you said, hip hop culture. Like this was Sammy. Welcome in. This was us. So New York City hip hop culture of the early 1980s, set in the South Bronx. The film follows the lives of a pair of brothers and their group of friends, all whom are devoted to various elements of early hip hop culture, including breakdancing, DJing, and graffiti. Perfect synopsis.
Yep.
Because all those elements take place.
Every single element takes place in this movie.
Yep.
Now, I will say this. I ain't gonna front. I gotta say, watching it now, I have a different mindset.
So we'll get to all right.
All right, go ahead. We'll get to that. So, okay, Beat Street, directed by Stan Lathan. Y'all don't know who Stan Lathan is? A big time director in the industry. Sanaa Lathan's father. Right. This was his project. Written by Andrew Davis, David Gilbert, Paul Golding, Stephen Hager. Story by Richard Lee Sisko. Produced by Harry Belafonte. Yep.
A lot of people didn't know Harry Belafonte and David V. Picker. Okay, starring. Here we go. Now this is where Rae Dawn Chong, which is crazy. She got first dibs on the starring because she doesn't come. She's not introduced into the movie till at least 15, 20 minutes in, right? But she was a star. She was a star, right? And we'll get to her. Got Guy Davis, John whoever the guy who played Ramo, John Charday.
Right.
Leon W. Grant, Sandra Santiago, Robert Taylor, Lee Chamberlain, Mary Alice. Mary Alice, she played a lot of black moms in a lot of movies.
A lot of black moms.
Sean Elliott, Jim Borelli, Dean Elliott, Frank Reyes. Now, look, I read that Kadeem Hardison was in this movie, but his scenes were deleted.
Yeah.
And then I also noticed, like, along the way watching this, a lot of cameo. Well, before they were stars, but Joseph C. Phillips was an extra in the dance scene in the Burning Spear. If y'all don't know, that's Wayman Tinsdale III from Strictly Business.
Yeah. And the Cosby Show. And don't forget, he was on the Cosby Show.
Yeah, and the Cosby Show.
But hold on, now check this out. We all know that Dougie Fresh was in the movie.
Oh yeah.
But did you notice him in the beginning of the movie?
At the house party, right?
House party. I just when I just saw this, I just noticed.
I was like, well, Dougie's just now. So let me see. Like you said, Kev, released June 8th, 1984. You don't miss a beat. That came out June 8th, 1984.
Last day of school.
Running 105 minutes. The budget was $9.5 million. It made $16.6 million.
Yeah.
So this movie was, for back then, 84, like 80s, like, because me and E last time we did a movie, we talked about what else came out like 84, like Purple Rain was 84.
Yeah.
Like to make 16 million back then
was
but
again, it still was considered, not a commercial success.
Well, it made his money back, but it doubled. I mean, almost sort of, but it made his money back.
Yeah. It almost broke even. But what it did in the ancillary market with the DVDs was crazy.
Right. Because it felt like because obviously I saw it after it had been out. I mean, we had the Earl's Video rental at the house. Shout out to Earl's Video. Y'all remember Earl's Video? I came into it after it had already been out for a few years, and I discovered it then. And then I don't know how long or how many people caught onto it after the fact for it to become kind of what it became, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, back even when I went to go see it, folks still wasn't going to the movies. Cats wasn't leaving the hood. You know what I'm saying? So if you didn't have a movie theater in your hood, you wasn't really checking the movie. You ain't see it till it hit DVD. So I think that's another reason why it did the numbers that it did, and it didn't triple, because everybody in the hood was on that type of time, but everybody in the hood couldn't leave the hood. It was 84. You know what I'm saying? So cats wasn't moving. They wasn't around like that. They wasn't moving like that. So, today a movie like that would blow up. It would explode.
I mean, look at how many dance movies along the way we've gotten that, along with like dope soundtracks. Like, it's just house party. Yeah. Look at if Beat Street was
5 years later, we would be talking. It's still where it is, but it would be along the lines of that house party. But now check this out. If Beat Street was a year and a half later, maybe 2 years later, it would have been different, because remember, crack hit and cats start getting money. So now everybody was out. 85, 86 was everybody was in the street. So this would have hit, then it would have blew.
Different element, right? I was going to say, like, that was one of my points I was going to prove. Like, this movie does a really good job of focusing on dancing, the DJ scene, the tagging scene, but we all know that the drug elements back then were.
So let me tell you about that,
right?
And this is what, when I was watching it again today, I was like, damn, this movie is so powerful because it captured how we live, right? So you guys didn't grow up like that. Y'all didn't see all those abandoned buildings, burnt out buildings. That's how it was, especially in the Bronx, because he touched on it when he said the landlord torched the building
3 times.
Yeah, at a point in the Bronx, the landlords was doing that, taking all that insurance money and all. But the biggest thing that hit me when I watched it again this time was the sense of community. We had that before, again. So this is pre-crack. This is the pre-crack era. Mm-hmm. You see how everybody had to depend on each other because nobody had nothing. Right. So we was all broke. And whatever I got, the squad got, and we just collectively, pulled our resources and we was able to move. Yeah. So I think the movie did an excellent job in capturing that aspect of life.
Yep.
Even with the whole Ramon and his pops. That's me and my dad. Well, he wasn't. I ain't hit no DJ shit. He graffiti right. Yeah, bro.
All right, so let's go. Here we go. Let's start with Lee Kirkland, because Lee kind of silently may be the star of the movie, right? I believe he's the first face we see, right?
Right.
He's the first face we see. Mm-hmm. Played by Robert Taylor, who I believe was just a street kid that kind of landed this role.
Yeah, which is a lot of B-boys mad, but he
landed the role, and I mean he did a damn good job. So Lee, younger brother of Kenny, we know that, right? Mm-hmm. Now this is where the interesting part. Me and E always kind of battle over ages, right? I'm thinking, so we know he's the baby, right? So we know he's in school because his mother's making him breakfast, like eat that before you go to school, blah blah blah. So I'm putting Lee maybe freshman, sophomore in high school, so maybe around that.
Easy freshman, sophomore.
What was that, like 15 maybe?
15.
16?
Yeah.
Okay. Putting around that age. Incredible breakdancer. Like that's all he cares about right now. Like we never see Lee in school.
At all.
All the elements are getting Lee, and he's breakdancing with his crew, getting ready to battle the rival crew across the way. He's the only crew that they battle the whole movie. But then we know his crew is called Beat Street.
Uh-huh.
Right, hence the name of the movie. We also know that he follows his big brother around. follows Kenny around, like, because at the very beginning of the movie, Kenny's getting ready to go do something, and Lee is like, "No, let me go with you. I want to go." And as big brother does, I might not come back. I might, give me a female or something. I ain't coming back.
Exactly.
Show off his little brother. His little brother's like, "Nah, that ain't true, because you're gonna bring your equipment.
Bring your records back.
Let me go." So that's kind of my take on Lee. Like, what's your take on Lee as you've seen him as a character?
So I was the oldest, so trying to follow the big brother thing didn't resonate with me, but his love of the culture, resonated with me, because he was my age when that movie came out. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, we grew up. This was us. You know what I'm saying? This wasn't like somebody shot a movie. This was like somebody walked through the hood with the camera. You know what I'm saying? And captured everything that we were doing at that time. So I resonated with Lee because of his love for the culture and his love of the dance.
Yeah. I mean, I think I told you what kind of influence Lee had. I mean, I have a sideways hat. I thought I was a little breakdancer in the back, unfinished part of my grandparents' house where the floor was still kind of, it was half tile but half concrete at the same time.
Right.
I think that was kind of one I related to a little bit more as a kid. Now I was thinking as an adult now, who can I relate to? But E, what about you? What's your thoughts on Lee?
I can kind of resonate with Lee in the sense that I was the younger brother following my older brother, right? My brother was 10 years older than me. So I was definitely trying to get in whatever mess he was getting into, I was trying to get into. That means I could stay out later because I was with him. So, you got to see things, you got to kind of be a part of stuff that you normally wouldn't. But also it was cool because you got to talk about being out with your older brother when you got back with your homies, where either they don't have a sibling or they had to be in the house. You know what I mean? So you felt like you were the one that everybody kind of looked towards to be like, what's going on? Or, what you do last night with your brother type situation. Now, for me, being on the West, the influence that it had was definitely culture, was like the clothing, but we kind of made it into our own based upon like how the West was. Clearly we didn't, it wasn't cold out here. We wasn't wearing bubble, vests and things like that. You know what I'm saying? You get clowned if you was wearing bubble vests, you know what I mean? So, but the way that you saw it was, especially with Lee, was I felt like he kind of took a spin on, this is like my thing, but a little bit of, you can tell like, the brother influence, right? So the younger brother always have to try to find his own voice or trying to find his own way with the influence of the brother, right? But you always had to kind of see where he aligned himself in the movie, right? Of how he had to think about certain scenarios, right? Whether it was, what would my brother do? Or like, I'm doing something totally different because I need to kind of make my own way out of this. So Lee was kind of that one where I think for what I saw, like my cousin wanted to be Lee, as in because it was like the star, but because he was older, he had to almost like feel like he had to take the presence of like the older brother, right? Where he was like, I can't be Lee, even though that's what I want to be like, you know what I mean? Because Lee was just kind of the one that he felt like stole the show for him.
Yeah. And I want to say about Lee as well, like you said, like, even though Lee kind of followed Kenny a little bit, Lee was definitely the leader of his own movement, right? As far as the breaking element was concerned, Lee had his own crew and people that he led. Like, he was very much of a leader than he was a follower of his big brother, right? Because now let's go ahead and talk about the big brother now. Kenny, Double K, played by Guy Davis. Now, years it took me to figure out that was Ruby D and Ozzie Davis' son. Like, as a kid, you really don't know who that is. But then you get into when Spike Lee broke out with Do the Right Thing, and you start seeing like, oh, wait a minute, that, then you relate like that's his dad, his mom, his dad. But like, I don't know if he did anything else movie wise after that. I know he got into the music field a little bit. Like he did some albums, but like this was his probably like defining role, right? And kind of nailed it. Older brother of Lee. Obviously, we found out he's actually the middle son. So the beginning, the mom hints at, I've already lost one son to the street. So the mom was very overprotective of her two remaining sons. But at that point, we didn't know where Franklin fell in the crew, right? Until we hear Kenny had the conversation with Tracy that, you know, I had an older brother,
Right.
you know, and he fell to the streets because of gangs. Now here's the element. We never see the gangs, but we hear him talk about how big gangs were at that time of when the movie takes place, right?
Right.
All gang elements, unless you're unless you're a breaker. But his brother fell to violence with gangs and police shootouts, right?
Mm-hmm.
We knew that he was 12 when his brother passed away.
Right.
So I'm putting Kenny. This is tough because back then, you know, you could be a 40-year-old dad on TV back then. Looked like he was pushing 60. Like, so I'm right. If Kenny is if Kenny's in the middle, we've established Lee at 15, 16.
Yeah.
I'm going to put Kenny probably at 21, 22.
Yep, 21, 20, 21, 22. Yeah. That's why I'm sure he's out of high school. You know, he's doing his DJ thing. He's probably been doing that for a couple years. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I put him around 20, 21.
Yeah. And we know that we never really see Kenny smile about anything. Like, he's very, like, his demeanor is always serious about, no matter what moves they make, he's serious about it, right? Even when he's going to DJ, he's serious. And the only time we see him lighten up is when, like, music comes into play, right? You know, he's creating music, and that kind of brings him to life.
Yep. So, as I was saying earlier, because this culture, it was our life. It gave us hope.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to that, it was abject poverty. You see what I'm saying? Y'all saw the neighborhoods. Y'all saw what it looked like. That's what we grew up in.
Yeah.
So what did we have to be super happy about it?
Yeah.
What did we have that really inspired us? You know what I'm saying? You played sports. You know what I mean? That was it. But then when this thing called hip hop and rap came, bro, it gave you an identity, gave you a voice, and allowed you to be who you wanted to be, allowed you to, you know, explore. It opened the world up, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Cats didn't know they could be musicians. You know what I'm saying? We see breakdancers, they didn't know they could be dancers. Cats went from breakdancing into ballet and all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And they start choreographing, videos and all kinds of things. So yeah, this thing really had an impact on us and opened up the world to us.
Yeah. Any standout points on Kenny for you?
Nah, not really. I mean, I like Kenny's character. Again, I related to him from the DJ thing, trying to do the DJ thing. And again, I saw myself in him because, you know, I'm gonna repeat it over and over again. At that moment was our life.
Yeah.
What we were. So
yeah.
I can relate to all of them.
Yeah. About you, anything stand out to you about Kenny?
Yeah. Kenny for me was a close friend of the family that goes by the name of J-Ro, if you know who that is, and what affiliation he had with alcoholics. J-Ro saw that, and that's like still to this day, we got pictures of J-Ro with the big boom box that you can see he almost dressed like he was from New York, because once that music element, like Kev was talking about, kind of came into play, it was like it was game over, right? It was like almost a world of, man, I didn't know I can do this, but like how it gravitated to, you know, him, to where J-Ro used to like rap in front of, like, you know, the family at the Christmas events, right? Or he would like recite the raps and stuff like that. So it became one of those things where I can see Lee being that person, because I actually remember asking J-Ro about that. I was like, why didn't he have that demeanor of kind of seriousness until it became to the music? And he was like, that's his outlet. That's the one thing that, from all the stuff that's probably happening at home or just around, like you said, the situation that they're in, right, that music comes on, it kind of you take you out of that element and it puts you in a different mindset. So for me, I saw Lee in person on the West Coast. His name was J-Ro for the Alcoholics. That's how I put it together.
Kenny, got you. Also, so we all know he's aspiring DJ, right? And we see the evolution or the progression of Kenny throughout the movie, right? Because he has the house party, then he goes to the burning spear. He kills it, and he ends it at the Roxy.
Yeah,
so we saw his evolution in a matter of 105 minutes, right? And then I said we never see him happy till his music makes him happy. But I think this character, you need the seriousness of this character in the movie, right? Because everything, like I said, everything around him is just elements.
Yeah.
And of survival or whatever it is, and he's just that one thing in the middle. And then plus Lou is an older brother, like he's probably a little just
hated. You got to understand, like you said, I was mad. I was ready to go to war. You know what I'm saying? This was his mindset. Music was his release. Yeah. Music was his happy space. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? His whole room was set up. Hip hop was he's sitting at the table. What he say? What's the deal about eating this oatmeal for real? When all I feel is tired for real. When I stick my tongue too quick, my gallant sound like a magic trick. Hey, listen, it's funny, but we did that. Everything was around. Everything was a rap. You know what I'm saying? Yo, this movie was incredible, bro.
Yeah. All right, Rainbow. I'm gonna put him around the same age as Kenny. He's in Kenny's crew, right? So I'm gonna put him around the same age as Kenny. Played by John Charday. If I'm saying it wrong, I'm sorry. Talented street artist, graffiti artist, tagger, super talented. That's what he lives for. Like he lives for the art side of getting out of whatever issues they have in that moment, right? He's also a young father. We know that, right? So here's the other element of that period. Like they're young dads.
Yeah,
right? He's a young dad, and it brings in here's the element of the family drama that we see, because we see that him and his pops have issues, and we see that him and his girlfriend's mother have issues, and they're both the same issue. They're coming down on him because he won't make his child legit, right? And what they mean by that is like he's not manning up and building a home for his family, right? He's out here tagging streets, running the streets with his crew while he may see his son every couple of days,
right?
And then and the girlfriend or the mother of the child is letting him be him. Like she's just in love with him. She just wants him to get them out of those situations so they can be together. That's all she wants. She's a ride or die. She's gonna stick by him regardless, right? Because if they're in their early 20s, she may be younger than him. Who knows? But she's all about him, and he's all about
his dream. He's chasing the dream. And at that point, everything was a dream. Like I said, it gave you the authority to believe and to dream and to explore. You know what I'm saying? And those graffiti writers, look at most of the murals that's done around the country now. They're done by ex-graffiti writers.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So again, I was an art major in high school, and graffiti was, man, listen. When I got a hold, if you didn't have a black book, now it's not like this one. This one is a small book, but the graffiti books used to be a little bigger than this. If you called yourself a graph writer and you ain't had that in the backpack, you wasn't a graph writer. Right. Straight up, because cats would ask you for your book. Let me see your book.
Let me see your portfolio.
Yeah. So back then, now I don't know how it was in New York, but I know in Philly we had writing crews. You know what I'm saying? I grew up with one of the illest dudes in Philly. His handle was Bake. My man Rob. We were from here. So he was in a group he was in a few groups, but the first one he was in was called Law One, Lunatics at Writing. So when you tagged your name, you would put Law One under there so they know what crew that was. And then this thing grew up to Sam One, Sly Artistic Masters, Eye to Eye, HCL, High Class Lunatics. Those were the Latin dudes, the Puerto Rican boys. You ain't go down there. You ain't go down there, boy. You make a mistake and you cross them tracks and you in HCL land. It was crazy, but that's how it was. You know what I'm saying? And then later on, they got the 5. When them boys came, oh man, that was like Rake, Bake, Bad Kevin, Zephyr, Japan. Just a pimping ass nigga. That's what his name. That was his handle. You know what I'm saying? Yo, these were the guys. Man, listen. These were the guys that was tagging everything in Eastro. Now, again, I don't know where a lot of folks are listening from, but back then there was a cat in Philly, another big graph artist named Eastro. So Eastro went to high school. Well, let me not say that. He showed up to high school a couple times. You know what I'm saying? Showed up a couple times. We were in art class together. The trans pass to get it. So we had the public transit systems. So they stopped using tokens and they made these trans passes. This was probably like 85, right? And they made these trans passes. And, they were colorful, whatever. Eastro in class duplicated one. Now, all you had to do is flash it to get on the train. So he duplicated it. He made it, colored it, the whole nine, and started selling them. I mean, that was a lick out of control, bro. It was out of control. So once they start seeing people using fake trans passes and they tried to, make ways that you couldn't do it. But Eastro was the first one that I knew of that created the fake trans pass.
And then also with Ramo is we show that how diverse your crew can be, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that every race struggled back then, right? It wasn't just the blacks, right? Because Ramo was built, he was in those same elements, right? Yep. And then we kind of get the foreshadowing or the tease that we knew he was all about his art, but we knew the constant throughout that movie was spit.
The hater. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what got under Ramo's skin, and we saw that early into the movie. Thoughts on Ramo?
He was a kid trying to figure it out, and with an adult situation on his hand, aka the kid. You know what I mean? And you can tell, like you said, having both sides, on him, trying to like get him to kind of be something or try to do something, right? When he's just like Kev said, he was an artist. He just wanted to be out there and just kind of do his thing. He wasn't really in the mindset of I'm trying to be a father right now. You know what I mean? He was trying to just kind of do his thing. And I think for that, it resonated because, I mean, we all knew, unfortunately, that was a scenario that everybody had either a homeboy or you knew somebody that was in that boat. You know what I'm saying? Everybody had that one homie that, shot the club up early. And then, you know what I'm saying? We sit there like, you can't hang out with us, but he like, I want to go with you. I'm like, yo, you got a whole responsibility, bro. You know what I mean? But I think with him, like I said, it's weird because the take of it, like Kev made the comment, older watching it now compared to when we were younger, you look at Ramo, you just be like, damn, like he really was going through life, like however he had to in that moment. It probably was hard on him at the time because you was just like, damn, why don't he just kind of be at home? But it's just like, if he don't have nothing for himself, like how is he probably thinking, how am I going to provide if I can't do the things that's going to make me happy to kind of do what I need to do for my family, right? Mm-hmm. And I can't just go be whatever you want me to be because that's not going to be me and I'm not going to be happy. And probably as kids, we was looking at it like almost like that's a selfish moment. But then when you get older, you realize being happy really puts you in a place where you can probably provide. And like you said, could have taken that talent and really did something with it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And, that was, again, the beauty of this film is that it caught the essence of so many different elements and put it all together. And nothing felt overbearing and nothing felt left out. You know what I'm saying? They hit it on every head. They hit the nail on the head every time on all these issues. Yeah. So I really dug that aspect of it.
Yeah. And then at some point, he makes the decision. He has the reality check of, all right, I need to provide. I need to do something, because my dad already said there's no extra room for her here, and she's not sharing the room with you because y'all aren't legit. Yeah. And it was made known that he wasn't welcome at her house either. So he had to do, and that's the thing, how real that is, because at some point, you got to step up. Even if it sacrifices, your art or your passion, well, you got this family that's booming, or you got to do that, and then find your way along the way to keep your dreams alive, right? He just made the sacrifice. Okay, Tracy. Ray Don Chung, like 80s. I think that was maybe my like a little 80s crush right there. Ray Don,
she's everybody crush back then.
Booming, man. That was I mean, 80s Principal. What's the other one? Soul Man.
Soul Man.
She did
shoot, what's the one with the after school day, not school days, summer school.
Summer school?
Yeah,
okay.
She was in summer school. She was the one black girl. Remember, she had the driving problem. He had to help her learn how to drive.
Okay.
I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah. She was, but again, booming in the 80s. Daughter of Tommy Chong of Cheech and Chong.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay.
Color purple, you know.
Yeah, that's right. Squeak. Duh. Yeah. So she had some big 80s roles, and then like she kind of just faded into the sunset.
She had a lot of roles in the 80s.
Bro,
she was a girl in the 80s.
Hold on, let's go ahead. Look that up. Go ahead. Do the movies while we go over Tracy. So Ray Don Chong, I'm gonna put her at 25. She seems a little bit more along the way. Mm-hmm. She's a little bit more polished, kind of than where Kenny is at his life, right? And it could be from opposite sides of the tracks. I mean, same hood, but just different elements of being raised. Because we know when Kenny walks her home, she's in like a high rise with
right, exactly.
And like it's snowing beautifully on her side of town. Like it ain't, I think she's even by the water. Like it's a different vibe where he drops her vibe.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I thought, like, for the longest, I thought she was like a student, but no, like she's composing in this like theater. Like so that's what I'm saying. Like she's got to be 25, a little older, more polished along the way, or at least had different elements raising her along the way. And then obviously when we first see her, she's getting ready for the Roxy, right? Is that when they first introduce her character? She's getting ready to go out for the night at the Roxy.
Well, she was at the Roxy, exactly, the night that they did the battle.
Yeah,
that's where Kenny saw her.
Exactly, and he walked right up to her. He was getting ready to put the moves on her. She walked up to Robert.
He played himself though, because he didn't say nothing.
He didn't say nothing.
He said, Kevin Campbell, can we talk weird? You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, bro, you can't. What are we doing? You know what I'm saying? Today you get caught up in the case with that. Like, what are you doing, bro? Say something. So, and then he got real emo. You know what I'm saying? Like,
he shut up. He shut down. But then the thing is, too, she had this weird relationship with Robert.
Yeah, I think they wrote it like that to give you that vibe, to give him a reason to be all emo. But I think it was just. And not saying that Robert wasn't trying to hit it. So let's keep it clear. You know what I'm saying? Right. He might be the old dude trying to, but I think it was more of the teacher student. He was nurturing her, trying to get her to this level that she wanted to be. You know what I mean?
Right. And Kenny had asked her, do you have a boyfriend? And she was like, not really, So like you said, it was alluded to a lot of different situations, but then it was always like Kenny walks in and see them with the mid-performance hug.
Yeah.
Like he's always catching the wrong opportunity between the two.
Emo, right? Like, come on, bro. She's not your girl. Oh, maybe she was at that point, but I think watching it today, I seen it for what it was. Every young man has an insecurity about him because he does not know what he is at that point. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I saw Kenny as. Kenny was dealing with his insecurities of who he was. So he saw what's his name? Robert?
Yeah.
Yeah, he saw Robert as, okay, he's already put together, he's doing these things, these big things, and she's attracted to that. She's not really attracted to me. So I'm like a little, I'm like a circus monkey to her,
That's what he said.
That's how he felt. So, he was a little emo on that, but
he was, and then to the point where Robert's playing whatever when they were in the studio, and then Kenny crashes the board. Right. He was like, "You think what he was doing was so great? I can do better than that." And I'm like, "Bro, like that." Like you said, emo. Like he was just
It was an insecurity. Like, Robert came through. Now, here's what, the subtleties of that. I don't know if it was the writing or the acting, the subtleties when Robert came in. Robert came in on some, you really not that dude. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, what did this? Let me hook that up for you.
I can fix this for you, no problem.
He's Sunday, like, let me fix this for you, little boy, because you really not that dude.
Exactly. You don't know nothing about this.
If you wanted to be here and do your little thing for your little Roxy performance, and you're like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah, exactly. So here we go. She's the love interest in the movie, right? But I guess you can call it a love interest because she's there. She's the soft part of the movie, right? She brings the movie. She gives you just that element of the movie. And then, like I said, I thought she was older because she just kind of carried herself differently. But again, different sides of the tracks. You just don't know. But we know that back at the night of Roxy, like where everybody's getting all dolled up and getting ready to go. This is the big night. Like, the music's playing, is jumping.
Yeah.
Kenny's getting ready to make his move. It doesn't happen. But then after the break battle, you see her come up to Lee and give Lee the digits, right? And Kenny's like,
But now let's be clear. Oh yeah, you talking about Kenny? Yeah. Kenny was really on something like
what?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But she did that because she wanted to bring him to the school.
Yeah. And kind of,
and show him off.
There you go. Okay. So that's Tracy. And she seems like she can kind of handle herself. She speaks up for herself because she shows up at the house at that one moment to be like, nah, I need to talk to Lee. If not Lee, then let me talk to Kenny.
Mm-hmm.
Like she speak for herself. Okay. Let's talk about this clown, Charlie. Like, he's you gotta have him in every movie, right? You gotta
have Charlie. Charlie was trying. He was trying.
You gotta have the annoying sidekick, best friend. Like, you gotta have that role because they add a certain element of comic, relief to some things. So my notes on Charlie was annoying best friend. We know he's Kenny's manager. He's kind of a slick talker. I'm gonna put him at the same age as Kenny. They probably knew each other from birth.
Yep.
He loved to take chances with Kenny's career.
But now let's he shot his shot.
He did.
Well, while Charlie might have been annoying, he had Double K's best interest.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes dudes can do too much, right? You think you know, but you don't really know. You never been in this space. So how can you sit here and try to negotiate things with guys that will negotiate you under the table? But he had the ambition. So we're talking about, this movie is about ambition, about wanting to grow and be more, and this culture giving you the moxie to be that. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Prior to hip hop, would Charlie be that dude? Probably not. But he took a chance. He took a chance. It's like, yo, you want to see my man be there Saturday night?
Right.
He was like, whoa.
That was a hell of a risk. It paid off for him. Also put him at street smart, but he's got Kenny's best interest. He puts Kenny in positions to be successful.
Yep. Now, street smart, right? I think every cat growing up in the hood has a level of street smarts, right? But notice there was no thugs in this movie. Wasn't nobody out there thugging, trying to be the illest dude, busting his guns, none of that.
Nope.
None of that. That didn't happen until when? Post-crack. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to blame everything on crack. Crack was the bane of our existence.
It changed. Like, if you said a couple years later and you introduce that element in this movie, you're going to get juice. There you go, juice.
Yeah.
You'll get juice.
You're going to get juice.
Yep. Wow. Yep. Okay. So we've established the main characters, right? We know the players of the movie now. So let's talk. Let's dive a little deep now. Let's go to Ramo, because we saw we saw what ate away at Ramo the whole movie, right? And the time for that has come, right? Ramo, it was kind of like, I took it as this is symbolic. We knew he was a tagger, and that white train, right, came into the movie, and I believe the white train represented purity. It was, I guess, another way for him to create, but it was just like the purest thing in this movie because it was whiter than anything else you'd seen. It was whiter than the snow in the movie.
But it was a canvas. It was an untouched canvas.
Yeah, exactly.
It was, you know, everything with the tags and all was about identity. So, right. You know, that's why they did these big tags, put their names on it. But that, for you to tag the brand new car on the A line, you was here. You know what I'm saying? That elevated you. That your status got elevated. Like we had a cat here in Philly go to the zoo and spray paint an elephant. Like, you know, it was a tag on an elephant. I mean, cats did everything wild just to get their rep up. But that train, that white canvas, just that was his elevation. You know what I'm saying? Like I got the first train. I got that train before anybody tagged it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Spit was a thug, exactly. And so if we gotta have,
was Spit a thug though, or was he a coward? He ain't do no wild stuff. He was sneaking. Like if he walked up on you while you was doing your joint and bombed on you, then that's something else.
Yeah,
he was the antagonist, but he wasn't no thug.
Would you put him at, if this movie had to have a villain, would you give him the villain role?
He was absolutely the villain, and he was a smoked out villain too. So we could see he was early stages of whatever.
Maybe he was he touched on the element that they really didn't introduce into the movie. So
the drug addict.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was Spit.
But you think that was by design though, right? Because like we talked about, Kev said it, that they touched on, right? Like they kind of did this movie element, right, with hitting all blocks. Why not kind of run into Spit on that side? Like, because again, it was that ugly side of it, which I'm not saying it has to be in all the movies, right? Because let's call that what it is. But it's interesting how they say antagonist, because you almost had to have that element of something that was going against what everybody else was really trying to be a part of. And I felt like Spit was that, right? Like the element of we just trying to do our own thing. We trying to do this, we trying to do that. And then, like you said, you kind of see Spit's character and you're just like, I almost felt like you could almost remove him and it wouldn't be an element that you're missing out of it. But it's like they didn't touch kind of more of a crazier element of what Spit really probably could have done that could have altered some of the shit that was going on, though.
Well, here's why you needed Spit, because you need a protagonist and an antagonist, right? If we didn't have Spit, who would we dislike in this movie?
Charlie, or
we can't be just like Charlie because he's part of the team.
Robert
was insignificant. Honestly, he was totally insignificant. But Smith was the constant, thing throughout the movie that we disliked. Yeah. So they needed Spit's character, and I'm glad they played it like they did, because you didn't have enough time to really delve into his story. Yeah. The same thing with Franklin. You didn't have enough time to delve into his story. That's why you do it through exposition, right?
Yeah.
You just tell them about who he was. Oh, Spit is just a guy who has none of his tags got, whatever. So he go around bombing on everybody else's.
Yeah. And I'm gonna tell you, so as the antagonist, or what else he introduces into the movie again, because like you said, they touched on the element of Franklin, right? Of what he had gone through and brought somewhat the element of the presence of death. But Spit actually gives you another side of what's happening out there, but just in the way he did it, that people were dying, right?
Mm-hmm. And
he gives you the element of death in the movie. So that's why I related the white train to purity. But ultimately, while they're in this moment, Spit is the ultimate reason why that white train represents death as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He gave you death. And when that moment happened in the movie, like, no, I as a kid, you don't really understand that, right? But every hood or every crew that's tight, I'm assuming back then, had somebody that passed away to bullshit or just something, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. My man Neil stopped. He got shot for his glasses. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody got somebody in the crew that died over some BS because some hating ass dude pulled a move, tried to get a lick or whatever, and crushed us as youngsters. You know what I mean?
New beginning. I agree with that. Yeah, I mean, so as much as like he was somewhat of a hidden character throughout till you see all the slow reveal of him, he's finally revealed. His presence is a pivotal part of the movie. Like he shifts the movie.
He shifts the whole movie. He takes them right back to where they never left.
Yep.
Man, we just can't get out this rut.
Nope. Thoughts?
It's that cycle, bro. Like Kev talked about it. I mean, shit, it was that moment of you see a cracked door and you realize there's probably another avenue, but then when that door shuts, you like, we back to like trying to find another way out of this shit. You know what I'm saying? It's that cycle that we all talk about, or like you said, it's, we feel like we making moves as a crew, and then there's a hit that somehow comes out of nowhere that takes us out, and we kind of going back to where we was at. Now we got to kind of rebuild. But we also want that one that's out there doing this thing to still go, right? Don't let that be the thing that hinders you from like making it out, or at least kind of building towards what you was going through. Because we all know, and it's in the music. The whole point of it is to not let the bullshit have to take us back to where we was at, but allow us to keep going forward.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What Daydreamer said, we need to spit sadly for advancing the death of the movie without literally having someone get shot.
Yeah. No, great point.
Yeah.
Great point. Well, every movie has an antagonist, so we needed that, and I'm glad. I like how they did that. Because it was authentic to the time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you caught somebody bombing on your tag, you was going at him. You know what I'm saying? You was gonna get busy with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That third rail was something vicious though. Everybody knew about the third rail.
And then so when you have the death of Ramo, and you see again like the feeling and all that shifts. Like now Kenny's focus on his big moment to be, to headline a New Year's Eve show or to put this New Year's show at the Roxy together is now a celebration for Ramo. Like he's going to risk everything that he had been working to get to. Charlie had put him in position to help him get to celebrate his friend.
Yep. But that's what it was. It was community.
Yeah.
I started off by saying that. That show, it did a wonderful job of showing how we were all a community back then.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, listen, that was emotional for us in the movies at that point, because we had all, as a matter of fact, to be honest with you, we had just lost the homie, Bernard, for his glass. He got shot for his glass. We had just lost him prior to that, so we all felt that moment. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, the homie lost his life over this.
Yep.
He had the kid. He just got the crib. Not really got the crib. He just made a crib.
He was on that. Yeah,
but that's how it go in the hood.
Yeah, and I love what other element this kind of introduces, because we hear it throughout the movie, but we see it. The musical element is like healing through music. Like we get the choir, we get the rapping, we get like just this musical presence in the breaking. Everybody comes together. We get this huge musical presence to just celebrate, right? And then how another outlet was obviously the music, not just DJing, tagging, breaking, whatever. Now we get like the live performance element of how just dope.
Well, who did that?
Who put that together, or who put that together? Well, that wasn't that Kenny. I mean, that was Kenny's vision.
Tracy. Remember he told her?
Oh yeah, that's
I don't know how to do it, and she put because that was her thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So she helped him put all that together to have that big. It was like a musical.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I thought that was kind of dope.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna talk. So we can talk about scenes that may have stood out to you. The one scene, even as a kid, that stood out to me was Burning Spear, Christmas show.
Mm-hmm.
Kumo D, like the whole Santa Claus element when they're like in the shadows and Kumo D's rapping, and you got that's when you really see Dougie Fresh do his thing. But like that whole moment right there, like that little Christmas rap, as a kid to me, stood out just because. I mean, rapping was everything, right? And then
exactly.
and it was a fun scene.
Yeah, the scene that stood out for me was the subway battle.
The when they got locked up.
Yeah, when they got locked up. Now, in Philly, there was a subway stop called Lombard and South, and on the Lombard side, they had the columns, like you know how it was in that subway. They had the columns like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we used to meet up there to break dance to recreate that whole scene. And again, cops come through, chase you up out of there. Cats that got caught, you know what I mean? Ain't really could charge you with nothing but disorderly conduct or something. Made your parents come get you. But shit, that was a crime. That was a penalty right there. When mom and dad had to come get you from the station. Look.
Yeah,
So,
that was a good scene.
Yeah, that scene was major. Plus, it spoke to something that happened, but maybe not on a grand scale like it's romanticized as. But these gangs started to dance against each other versus fighting. So neighborhoods went from, you know, not totally. Let's be clear that violence wasn't totally erased. You know what I mean? Because of breakdancing. But instead of going fisticuffs, they started breaking against each other. You know what I'm saying? And I tell you, man, the New York City Breakers came down to Philly one year to battle the Scanner Boys. And they did it at Penn's Landing. I'll never forget this. It was such, bro, I wish y'all could have been here. This moment, this time, the 80s, 82 to 90, it was a movie. It was a movie, dog. And it was captured in movies from Wild Style, Breaking, for you guys on the West Coast, right? Beach Street, Crush Groove. Then you had The Juice. Then you had your Paid in Fulls, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All them elements were captured.
The evolution of those moments.
Oh, yes, indeed. And each one of those movies, what was the basis of it? The music. It was a culture.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it was.
Any one of those dancers would have won gold in the Olympics. Hell yeah.
Easy. They wouldn't even let them in there because they would have washed them.
Right.
Hold on. Speaking of the Olympics, to his point, you know the 84 Olympics opened up with breaking. So remember Robert Taylor, him and the New York City Breakers opened up the Olympics that year.
Wow. Thoughts? Any scene that stood out?
Nah, definitely what the scene that you talked about, because for me it was y'all gonna get on me, but you know I got my moments. Is it just E? I was tired of hearing the Temptations Christmas. You know what I'm saying? So I needed something for a younger person. When I saw that, I was like, it makes you kind of feel like they can something new or element about, like, you know, Christmas wasn't just kind of like this always happy singing. Like they was rapping. You was like, oh, like it made it cool to like kind of want to be in Christmas outside of like, you know, like, oh, we got to be here, family. They playing the same records. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? But also, and this is what I know for a fact. It birthed talent shows for us out on the West to be creative enough to say they did that. What can we do that gives it like kind of our feel, right? And it was that thing that made it cool to do talent shows. Because I guarantee you, outside of that movie, there was not nothing that nobody wanted to do a talent show about. I guarantee it. Nobody was volunteering to be in a talent show. It was the dude that can sing, the girl that can sing, somebody from band that was playing the instrument, and then that was it, right? As soon as like you saw that movie, next thing you know, homeboys got a couple of raps. They was reading it on a piece of paper, and now you have a talent show where now we taking over, because in the sense is you get to perform, you get to create, and then what happens with that? You get the girls, then it's about the dress, then it's about why my rhyme is better than you. So that for me was the one that sparked the whole kind of. I saw what that looked like from my cousins to my brother. Like I saw what that did to them, and I was just like, okay. See, it made you stand out and say that I'm a performer or I'm a creator instead of the cat. Like if you couldn't dance, if you couldn't rap, you almost had the element of where you gonna fall in the category. Was you the cat on the wall, or you was the cat that was performing and they knew your name, or you know what I mean? So I think it kind of birthed you understanding where you kind of sat in or where you wanted to be.
And yet, to your point, if you couldn't rap, you couldn't DJ, right? Because before the whole rapping thing was huge, it was the DJs, right? We used to go to parties to see the DJs. I can't remember too many. I mean, we had Will Smith before he was the Fresh Prince. He would do his thing. Couple cats around with Perry P and all, but we actually only went to see the DJ and dance. So that's what it was. Yeah. So when cats started rapping, if you couldn't rap and you couldn't DJ, you had to get your B-boy on, right? So you was the fresh dude. And listen, back then it ain't take much to get fresh. I can get $20 and I could be the freshest cat walking through the party. Because the only things that was really that you had to, if you had a pair of Guess jeans on, you was already. It was over. Everybody rocking these jeans, but if you had a pair of Guess jeans on, through the roof, bro, and then you put your fat laces in your sneakers, ain't nobody care if your sneakers was clean. If you had the fat laces with the sock with the joint puffing out, and you had your little bomber, whoo! Let's talk about the bomber. Let's talk about the Run DMC Razor Hell leather bomber. When you had that on, it was over. The ski goggles. You saw how Lee rocked the ski goggles, and then the one boy had the ski goggles under the. We did all that, and that was your fresh. So you could be at the party and the MC doing this thing, and you over there bagging every chick in there because your fresh was. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's how it went. So everybody had their lane, and everybody was trying to be that person in their lane. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was lovely. It was a lovely time, yo.
Favorite scene was Kenny scratching in the tambourine. I was good in the verse dance battle. So again, that's when you see Kenny in his element and he's actually happy. Like
he's talking about in the room. Right. Yo, that was dope.
Yeah.
No.
The first dance battle was dope. Can this movie be remade today? Like it hit on all, or doesn't it need to be left where it was?
Don't do it. Yeah, because listen, how you gonna tell this story again? What you gonna do now? You gonna tell the mumble rap how they came around with a couple lean, and you know what I'm saying? Because now you got to add the drug element to it, and it makes it a whole different movie. Yeah. It's not the birth of something anymore. It's really the death of something. So if you did a beat street today, it would be the death of the culture.
Yeah, I can see that.
You know what I mean? Because Beat Street was actually the birth of the culture. You saw how things began and how it started, how it flourished, and how everybody had a dream. Now these dudes get it. I sound like you sound like E sound like the next cat. We can't differentiate.
That's a good point. Especially
they don't dance no more. So what kind? I mean, maybe you got your corporate and you got your little whatever, but they ain't really. I mean, what we gonna tell? What's the story that we're gonna tell in this culture?
No, I agree.
I feel like maybe not a remake, but I feel like kind of like Kev said. So maybe it is maybe it's like a Sundance film of the death of the culture of the Beat Street, right? But told from the element of, you know, you hear about like the Nas talking about it, right? Like the cats that were in that pocket, almost like Kev, right? Kev in his age of how they received it at the time it was happening compared to, and you know, not and to nowhere near talk about what he just said, the mumble rap or whatever like that, but just kind of give that era, that flower, right, in that moment to say, here's what this birthed all the way up until where we are today, whatever that means, right? But I feel like you do that because, Kev, here's my thing. The first thing you said was changing the way that you saw the movie when you were older.
Yeah.
So my view of like kind of the question now when we ask should things be remade, I'm not saying let's remake it, but let's have that conversation of the difference of how we took it from when we were kids to what we're doing and kind of like what we're doing now. Have those people that was around kind of say, man, looking back at that at this age, right? Kind of have them, because them talking about it while that time, like your conversation is about you living it in that moment. Whereas Kaleo and I was just getting it as it was already kind of in the sense of, and we talked about this on the music side. Me and Kaleo always talk about this. You get elements of like either music or movies after it's already been out, you receive it differently than what it is in that moment of when it happens, and then kind of how you're able to take it in that moment. So for us, we see the difference in the excitement of how you talk about the movie because you was at the age where you can appreciate it.
You remember the day he went the last day of school to go see it. So
my freshman year, last day of school. June 8th, can't forget. And it was so bugged out because it was summertime and we looking at it, the movie got snow in it. You know what I'm saying? So it was optically it was crazy, but yo, it was an amazing time. And like I said, if we was to take the concept of B Street and do it today, I don't know that it would rank off the same, because now we have to add the drill, the murders, the drugs, and it changes the whole complexion of the movie. It's not a happy movie anymore. You know what I'm saying? It's not a feel-good movie. Right. Even with Ramon dying, it was still a feel-good movie of how they celebrated his death and how the whole thing turned out. Right? We can now all speculate that everybody went on and did their thing, right, and continued to grow. If we did this movie now, what we gonna have?
There's no hope if you do it now. There's no the element of hope is
going to jail, Dirt going to jail. We got RICO charges now. You know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't want to touch it because it turns into a Shakespeare tragedy at that point. It's no longer about growing and building. It's about the destruction of. And as much as people try to, play like hip hop is not dead, we done. It's over. There's some BS that's out here right now. You know what I'm saying? Okay. And I ain't with it. I'm not with it. So that's a whole nother story. We can get another show going on for that one.
Sure. Okay, we rate the movies by rings. 5 rings being the best, 4, 3, 2, 1. So it's 5-1 series. If you had to rank Beat Street, first of all, is Beat Street a classic? And then how many rings are you giving this movie?
So okay. All right. I need criteria. Are we talking about the rings, how many rings you get from the cinematic perspective, or the nostalgia in the what it meant to the culture? Because the culture was a 5. Okay. Because the acting was subpar, it would probably come in around 3.5, 4. You know what I'm saying? But for the culture, it was a 5.
Okay.
The direction, great.
5 rings for the culture. Okay.
5 rings for the culture.
Are you giving it the classic title? Are you calling this a classic?
It has to be. It was one of the first of its kind. It has to be a classic. Yeah. It has to be. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, how can it not be a classic?
I got you, 100%.
How can Breaking not be a classic? How can Wildstar not be a classic? It was the first. Now, Crush Groove was not a classic. Crush Groove was some bullshit. And I'm a diehard Run DMC fan, but Crush Group was some bullshit. But Beat Street, Wild Style, Breaking, how could they not be classics?
For still hot though, Dimitri. So yeah, I'm gonna give it the classic because I remember what it did for me discovering this movie 3 or 4 years, 5 years later after it had left the theater, was on videotape. And I know what it did for me as far as a kid and influenced me. Again, I told you, Sideways had to be like Lee.
Yeah.
Adidas tracksuit. I wanted to try to be a break dancer in the basement of my grandparents' basement. The fact that it's still in rotation. I still watch this movie.
Yeah.
And every time I watch it, I start to look for different elements that I didn't see. Like this time, I didn't realize Dougie Fresh was at that party.
At that party, right? Exactly.
I realized Dougie Fresh was there, and then you just realize other things like how, like first of all, how older they look back then, but just the innovativeness. Like they climbing telephone poles to put electricity in this abandoned building so they can party.
So they can party, and that was a real thing. That's how we used to have block parties.
Yeah,
we would plug into the poles. Which they don't do that no more. They don't have those.
You can't tap in no more.
Right? But yeah. And here's the other thing for me when I was watching it again. When he started tagging that train, I was like, come on, man. Why can't we have nothing nice? I'm looking at it from an old man perspective at this point. You know what I'm saying? But back in the day, I was like, yo, let's tag that train.
I'm gonna give it a 5 again, just for what it lives within the hip hop culture. For me, and calling the classic, absolutely. Like I said, just I remember what the effect that it had on for me. And we try not to review every movie and call it a classic because then we're just picking our favorites. Like, but it is what it is. This one is a classic. I know what it does. I know how it feels to watch it, and the fact that I know the scene is getting ready to come up. And when Ramo hits that third rail, bro, like it hit me like I never seen that shit before.
Yeah, and that Ramo, it was horrible acting. But yo, your man Geraldo is out of control. No, he's out of control.
You gotta chill with that one.
Listen, and bro, the whole movie was zesty. The whole Roxy scene, all that. Come on, stop playing, bro.
That is so wild of him to say.
Yo, he picked that up with the straw.
That was good.
That was Yo, that shit was funny as hell. Yo,
I agree. It's a classic. I give it 4, and the reason why I give it a 4 is for me not having that impact, but the impact was what I saw from my brother and my cousin era. So that's why I said that culturally, it definitely is a classic because it started to shift and shape a youth movement of what we know now today as either young MCs, which again, from the era of actually learning how to rhyme, performance, kind of like that, that actual lyricist in that mind of kind of like creativity, right? And like I said, from seeing somebody who became an actual rap artist, in the sense of like J-Ro for the Alcoholics, and seeing that movie and what that did for him, and also E Swift, which was the DJ, right? And hearing him, kind of talk about how understanding how the DJ plays a part, and then like it just you see this along the way. And from the West, like I said, I had early visuals of it, of how they took it and ran with it. Now again, we wasn't wearing no hat sideways because you would get called out on that. So you was wearing a full Kango, and it was a black one, and it wasn't a color. You know what I'm saying? You had on Adidas suit, and it was either black and white, because if it was a color, you was getting asked questions. You know what I'm saying? So it still kind of created a culture on our side, but then, like I said, we kind of ran and took from what it was and kind of into our own. And 100%. And Kev, like I said, we'll have another conversation about this, but crack is what also birthed that era of gangs on our side. Because when they said gangs, like on the East Coast, and you hear about it, the first, our first knowledge is like what colors banging what, but it was more or less like what area was, this. And Yeah, neighborhoods was a thing, but like us, it was like, and so again, kind of seeing that element of that, and again, that crack era then created this destroyed the hell out of us and created just some of the weirdest things that we have to deal with up to this day. You know what I'm saying, when it comes into that gang life. But the movie.
But hold on. I gotta push back. I gotta push back on the 4 though. How you gonna give it a 4? It's a classic though.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm giving it the honest critique of for me, right? You say like Crush Group, like I would say that this movie doesn't do it because of where I was at in the time, even though I watched it even after the fact and multiple times. It still don't hit for me. It's a classic.
It's in rap songs. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but then we want to talk about, like I said, what we got on the West.
So again, that shapes perspective as well. That shapes perspective. I can't front
because, and the reason why I say that, and like I said, this goes into the next one, which we're gonna have to ask Kevin to come back because he's gonna have to be a part of the one that I'm asking for, which is Colors.
Ooh,
you hear Colors, and you hear Ice-T rapping, and you almost, if you close your eyes and you don't see Ice-T, outside of the way his cadence is, he sounds like he could be from the East because of how he raps.
But you know where he got his style from.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. So the element of how we took what we saw and had to make it our own. But then what happened was then now the storytelling is about what happens out here. So that's why I say the element of that movie is for sure culture, right? It is that. But
so it's like the argument between Boys in the Hood and Juice. Depending on what coast you from is what's going to be the better movie to you. You know what I'm saying? Because I heard that argument. All my cats in the West like, dog, Boys in the Hood. You know what I'm saying? Menace. They love those movies. Juice, it's cool, it's whatever. But cats I know from the East, like, nah, it's Juice. And then it's Boys. And it's like where you from shapes because it's what relates to you. You know what I'm saying? To your point with Colors. I would love to come back and do Colors because I got a whole story about that because we weren't banging Colors on our end. And I didn't know nothing about Colors till 87. And we learned the hard way. But I think I might have told y'all that story before. And I was like, hold on. These dudes are something. Yo, y'all are something else. They were something else, bro. I was like, never in my life have I seen this in my life.
Yeah.
So that's look, okay. First of all, hold on. This was long overdue dope episode, Kev. We appreciate you being. You always welcome back, bro. So for those who chimed in, we reviewed Beat Street tonight. So if you've never seen it, hopefully the conversation will help shape you and want to go see it because you can see the different elements. Kev lived this aspect of this movie, and me and E came along the way afterwards and discovered it, and it helped shape a lot of things as far as hip hop and all that for me. So that's the whole point of doing this. And then there's some spoilers, but it came out in 1984. If you hadn't seen it by now, oh well. Sorry. Yeah, still watch the movie because it does have like just all these elements we talked about. I'm interested to see if people feel the same way. But also go to YouTube, WRSE podcast, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. You can find us on Gen X. We're probably gonna end up doing a Smoke Spiel on Gen X at some point, or we'll release some stuff there. But check out some of the other stuff me and E have reviewed. We've done Just One of the Guys. We've did Scream.
People Under the Stairs, House Party. So all these Smoke Spiel's been around for a while. So check that out. Then also check out the WRC podcast every Thursday, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. 210 episodes in on that. So and then merch coming soon is the PJ right there. Everybody sees PJ. He's a sneakerhead. Coming soon. So that's all we got tonight. Smoke Spiel. Kev, stay on so we can talk afterwards. But look, that's all. Appreciate everybody for watching. Where's my button? Hold on, I gotta make sure I get the right.
Follow us on YouTube at WRSC Podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe.